All right, got some quick math coming at you. Would you rather get 90% of $4,200 or 60% of $5,400? That's the dilemma I found myself in this last week. Let's get after it. So look, we all know rates are in the toilet right now. Lanes that were paying $1,000, $1,200, 2, 3, 4 months ago, today are paying $250, $300. It doesn't make financial sense for somebody like me to go run these lanes at that rate. And so the question I had to ask myself is it possible to kind of dial down that search radius and say like, hey, look, I just want to stay super local, do these short runs back and forth across town, never leave San Diego. And, I never want to be accused of, posting these and saying like, oh, look, I cherry picked this one day. So I figure I'd do it over a full week to show you, is it possible to stay local in your hometown and still make decent money hauling for Amazon? So the week in question is March 12th through March 18th, the week that just ended up. I just got a payment from Amazon for $4,251. This consisted of me leaving my house for a total of 40 hours. I did all this in 40 hours. I spread it out over 5 days. Of those 40 hours, I was actually on the clock driving for 14 and a half of those hours, and I did it in a total of 18 loads. So you'll notice most of these loads occur at night for me. I prefer driving at night. I've always been a night person. Fewer cars on the road. I just feel like it's safer for me to do it that way. But basically Monday left my house for a total of 12 hours. Of those 12 hours, I took 6 loads and a total of 5 hours. I was driving for 5 of those. Longest one there, I went up to Carmel Mountain. Monday night, went out, did a total of 2 loads, and I was away from my home for 6 hours. Of those 6 hours, I spent 2.5 hours driving. Wednesday, I did a total of 3 loads, left my house for a total of 6 hours, only drove for an hour and a half of that because these were all very local loads. These were, running from Otay to Otay or Otay to National City. So a lot of sitting around waiting, not a lot of driving. Let's see here. Thursday, I apologize. Wednesday night, went out for a total of 3 loads. Was gone for a total of 10 hours, drove for 4.5 of that. That was just kind of 2 round trips back and forth to Carmel Mountain. And then last but not least, Thursday night going into Friday, I was away from my home for a total of 7 hours, but of that, I only drove for 1 hour of that. This was the night, this is what I referred to as my unicorn night. I got 4 of those, moved the trailer across the streets. So, out for 7 hours, but only drove for 1 of them. So take the 4251 and subtract 375 for fuel. Not a very fuel intensive week, but also not a lot of driving. I mean, remember, I was away from my home for 40 hours, but only drove for 14 and a half of those hours. So not a lot of money in fuel. Next, we got to subtract out $70 for tolls. I do run that toll road every time I go down back and forth to Otay. So 70 for tolls. That leaves me with 3806 as my net. I hate to call it profit because there are other expenses. There's, the license plates, the permits, the insurance. Side note on insurance. Year one, I've volleyed between a $40,000 a year policy and a $32,000 a year policy. In year 2, that goes down to $13,000. So if insurance is a rate limiting step, just stay the course. It becomes way more realistic in year 2. But, to be able to have my immediate expenses paid and to have 90% of my gross be my net, I'm satisfied with this little stay local experiment I did. And now to kind of go back and revisit that math riddle I started this whole thing out with the beginning, I had the opportunity during this week to take a load to Florida. I was heading down to Orlando. It was going to be 45,000 pounds. They were offering $225 a mile. The reason I said no is once I started running the numbers on it, it's like, okay, payout on it was about $5,400. But, at 45,000 pounds, I'm thinking optimistically, maybe the truck gets like 6 miles to the gallon. So you figure I'm going to spend 400 gallons of fuel. That's going to be in the ballpark of about $2,000. So, you take that $5,400. Would it be cool to come on here and report a higher gross to you rather than saying, oh, I made $4,200. I made $5,400. But here's the thing. I don't care about the gross. I care about the net. The net's what I get to take home. And so, after $5,400 payout, subtracting out about $2,000 in fuel costs, I'd be left with $3,400. Yes, I would have a bigger gross number, but I would also have a lower net number. And, and then you start looking at the logistics of that. Okay, a trip to Florida, let's say 4.5, 5 days there, optimistically, 4.5, 5 days back. I'm going to have to take a day and a half off to do that reset. I'm away from my home for, 11, 12 days. The week that I had, I was only away from my home for 40 hours, you know, and sporadically, you know, a day, half a day here, that type of stuff. Nobody misses me at my home when they're all sleeping and I'm out running around in this truck at night. I'm home in, you know, in time to take the kids to school, pick them up from school. I still get to be like an active participant in the little life I've created, and I love it. So again, I'm not knocking you if you're doing the Orlando thing. I get it. That's some people's deal. You know, hopefully whoever got that load got it at a higher rate, or maybe they live in Florida. But as far as, you know, is it possible to stay local, very local, doing loads for Amazon and still get by during these tough times? My answer is yes. I hope this video serves you well. Appreciate you for watching. Take care.